everyone, it's Sandra and it's February 22nd and I'm out here with Landon and we are going to lift this garden worm tower or garden worm bucket after the winter and see what's inside. So Landon's just lifting one of our garden worm towers out of our raised garden bed. We're going to take a look at what's inside after the winter with these worms on their own all winter with some feeding that we've done. Oh, there's one right on the edge, Landon. So we're just going to empty the material in here and freshen it up. This is the garden worm tower equivalent of fluffing a worm bin.
Not a lot of fluffing.
Not a lot of fluffing, but
this is more like, uncompacting.
Yeah, just getting rid of the compression, which happens in worm bins and it happens in these garden towers. So Landon's just going to fork through this. You can see the compost worms that are alive and kicking after our Vancouver Island winter. There's some Brussels sprouts.
These are pumpkin seeds.
Oh, those are pumpkin seeds.
Right.
So here's one of our beautiful worms. Landon's got him. These are composting worms. And so what we're going to do is we're going to sift the finer material out and put it in our garden and then replace the garden bucket with the overs and some fresh bedding and food. So stay tuned and we're going to do just that. So Landon's just going to grab handfuls of this material and just sift it right over our garden. So the material is going to fall right in our spring garden here. A nice top dressing. The mulch that we put on last fall has been mostly consumed, and that's probably why we're not seeing huge numbers of worms in this garden bucket. Is even though they got fed a whole pumpkin, they probably went looking for our mulch when the food supplies in these garden buckets started going down. So by sifting, we are reducing the volume in the garden worm tower so that we can add some fresh bedding and some fresh food supplies to keep the worms happy. It's good exercise for Landon, and it's a nice treat for the worms to get some fresh carbon and some fresh nitrogen. The material obviously has to be the right moisture in order to sift easily. This is about a, what would you say, Landon, half-inch screen? Oh, it's a quarter-inch screen that we're using. Yep. Thanks to Jason and Colleen from Clive's Conundrum Garden for leaving us this screen when they moved away from Vancouver Island. But you can see that we're getting a good amount of the finer material out into our garden with the overs going back into the worm farm. And we're going to be resetting the bedding here and showing how we do that in just a moment. So here are the overs that Landon got from the bucket. We're just going to mix some nice fresh bedding in with that. This fresh bedding is our beautiful fall leaves that we set aside, and Landon shredded them. They have a light dusting of fungus on them, and they're mostly dry. So between the moist worm bedding and the leaves, the moisture is still going to be excellent for the worms. And these garden buckets are open to the rain through the holes in the lid, so the moisture tends to just take care of itself. These really are the easiest system to get nutrition and amendments into your garden.
I think we're going to need more.
We're going to need more leaves, Landon. That bucket's pretty empty.
Yeah, pretty wet now.
Good. So we'll just add a few more leaves and then some food on top. Landon's going to replace the bucket in the garden.
This is only going to be half full, huh?
That's okay. Half full is fine because we will continue to feed this with bedding and food. And as the weather warms up, the worms get more active. They are going to be looking for food and they're going to reproduce in greater number. There goes some food scraps into the bucket. Then Landon's going to replace the bucket back into the garden. So that's just as easy as it is. We lift these buckets to harvest them, and what we did, I guess, today was a partial harvest. And we lift them just to check on the status of the worms, but you know, probably only 2 times a year, maybe 3 times a year. So if you're thinking of these raised garden buckets, this is how we do it. Rather than just leave the bucket, you can see that the material would get compressed and the worms basically would go looking elsewhere for food. So lifting the buckets from time to time not only is great for the garden, look at Landon spreading the castings that he sifted out, but it's great for the worms. They get fresh bedding just like you would do any other worm farm. Okay, thanks a lot for watching, and bye for now.